Welcome to another edition of Wildcat Country. Eric Cohen and Shane Dale. And yes, if you're listening to this one, it's a little later than usual. So let me explain a few things before we get going. First of all, Shane and I like to record a podcast at least once a week, right? I mean, that's been standard practice when we've been doing this for the last 2 years. But, you know, we have full-time jobs. Work does, kind of interfere with our lives at some point. Shane has a young son.
Basically, we do it for all of you. It's just for you guys.
We have fun with it.
No,
sometimes. I have fun with it.
Okay.
I don't know about you, but I have fun with it.
Sometimes.
All right. So sorry about that. We're gonna have a weekend one this week, and then hopefully a weekend one next week, and then we'll get back on a schedule. Secondly, in this show, it's just Shane and I. We're just gonna talk. It's gonna be a quick podcast. We won't keep you all day. But there's some things to talk about that I want to get off my chest about anything Arizona football, basketball, and conference related. And they're going to be different things than we've talked about.
That sound you heard, Eric, was after you said it's just going to be the two of us, was everyone simultaneously tapping the stop button on their phones while they're listening to this podcast.
And now, wait a second, Shane. I think when you and I, as much as I love our guests, I think when you and I do a good show, as I expect this one to be, I think it's entertaining. So I hope that if anybody is still listening at this point, I hope they stick with us because we have an entertaining show coming up. But it's just Shane and I. We're going to run through buy or sell. I have 8 questions plus a bonus question that Shane has no idea about. And when he finds out what it is, the eyes are going to roll out the back of his head.
Undertaker style.
Yes.
Completely, no eyeballs at all.
It was too predictable. And I will say this, Shane, it does not involve your friend Big Game Boomer. Who I know you're a big fan of, and he's a big fan of yours.
Great, informative, and so much great information from him. I'm so glad our football coach takes the time to retweet his nonsense.
Yes. Well,
I'm sorry. I usually wait to go full grumpy old man until later in the show, but we don't have much time, so I'm getting right to it today. All
right, let's do buy or sell. This is presented by our friends at Ice Shaker. Check out iceshaker.com. Use promo code Wildcat Country, capital W, capital C, and get $5 off these beautiful creations with our logo on them. And they now have the jugs. So yesterday, I was out on the golf course and it was really hot. I could have used a jug. So, I don't know if Chris will send us a free one, but we need to work on that.
We'll work on it. Yeah, I'll ask him. He probably will. He's a good guy.
He's a great guy. Always glad to have him on. So, all right, let's get right to it. Number one. So the big scrimmage for Arizona football was Saturday night. We're recording this on Sunday night. Number one, Shane. Buy or sell, Noah Fifita must play in at least a few games this season to get the necessary experience, even if Jayden de Laura is perfectly healthy.
And the drum roll you probably hear in the background is my son kicking the cabinet downstairs. I will go ahead and sell this. I don't think it's necessary. I think, look, if Arizona had an expendable preseason game, like where they could, put in some other quarterbacks, I think that's one thing, but they don't have that kind of time. So no, I don't think so. I think the only reason you put Fifita in is, maybe they designed certain packages for him, which is fine. Otherwise, if it's an injury or the game's out of hand and de Laura is not playing well. But no, I don't think he must play. I think it would be nice if he could. If there was, I want it to make sense though. I feel like Jedfish last year, and maybe this is just because it didn't have the personnel. I feel like he over schemed sometimes. Like he put some plays in there that really hadn't, just for the sake of playing them, for the sake of running them and showing off some trickery. I don't want him to put Noah Fifita in just for the sake of doing it. I want it to make sense, kind of like Matt Scott was put in for Ruli Tuatama every so often in 2008. But no, I don't. Must he? No. Well, I'd like to see him get some reps. Absolutely.
All right. Well, I'm going to disagree with you right off the bat. Maybe that's how this show's going to go. I think he must play, and you got to get him in the second quarter of games. Let's see what the guy can do. Jayden de Laura is Arizona's quarterback for maybe 2 years. But if Noah Fifita is as good as apparently he has looked in practices, arguably better than de Laura, let's see what this kid can do. He's better.
Yeah, but here's the thing. What's the point? If Noah Fifita is sort of the same kind of mobile, dual threat quarterback that de Laura is, then what's the point of putting him in just for the sake of putting him in? I mean, I understand if you want to change things up a little bit, in terms, the difference between Tuatama, who was a pocket passer, and Matt Scott, who was a run first or not a run first, but a dual threat quarterback for sure. I don't know what the advantage would be to put Fifita in other than just to get him playing time. I don't get that part.
So here's my take on that, though. So as far as Fifita goes, what if he's the better player though, Shane? What if he's better than Delora? So Delora played at Washington State as a true freshman the other year. Nobody knew what to expect from him. He had his ups and downs, but he developed into Pac-12 freshman of the year. I think Noah, I mean, you know what you're getting in Jordan McLeod. I think Noah has to play. He has 4 games where he can keep his red shirt. Plus all these guys, I mean, Kean Burnett, T-Mac, they committed, kind of because of Noah. You got to give the kid a chance.
Yeah, but in his first year, his true freshman year, I don't necessarily think that's true. And I agree with what Wilton Spade, who was on our show a while ago, talked about. He believes that if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have any. So, if Delora's struggling, sure. If Delora's putting up, 200-yard passing, 50-yard rushing, 3 total touchdown kind of game, no turnovers, I don't want to see Noah Fifita in there just for the sake of seeing him. But that's just my opinion.
So we disagree on the first one. Number 2, Shane. Arizona has, get this, too many good skill position players. That's running back, wide receivers, and tight ends for their own good. They have too many good players.
I will paraphrase what Lake Ray Cotton Fitzsimmons once said. He said, "You can never have enough shooters. You can never have enough great skill position players at the football level. Running back, wide receiver. No, and look, they're loaded, but in terms of guys they had last year and transfers and great freshmen coming in for both the receiver and the tailback positions, but some of them aren't going to pan out. Some of them aren't going to be as good as advertised. So it's great just by the law of averages. The fact that they have so many great options means that there at least a couple of them will be as good as advertised, you would think. So no, I don't think it's a problem. And the guys who don't get the playing time, it's going to be for a reason, and they might go somewhere else, and that's fine. So I sort of get what you're saying. Maybe, just in terms of like, team morale, like some guys might get upset, but that happens. I think that Jed Fish and his staff are the kind of people who are in position to manage that well. I really do believe they created a great team atmosphere last year. That wasn't the problem. It was just the lack of talent, the sheer lack of talent. So if that's what you're concerned about, I'm not terribly concerned about it. Other than that, no, I don't think it's a problem. I think it's a benefit.
I think you're right. I wanted to buy this one but you're right. There are never too many good skill position players. Look at Alabama, look at Ohio State, where they're guys that are 5 stars that are backups.
Right.
That's not the case at Arizona. We like what we have. It's definitely an upgrade over what Arizona's had in 2021, 2020, probably 2019, and maybe even before that. But as you said, it will all work itself out with playing time. So as ridiculous as that question, I mean, thinking about it, you want to keep guys happy. Like when they brought in DJ Williams from Florida State, the transfer running back, you're like, well, they already have enough running backs.
Yeah.
But let the best guy play. And then you're right. The other guys will find their way off the roster at some point.
Yeah, and you have to have depth. I mean, I think that was one of the things that I might have been most critical about Rich Rodriguez for, is I just don't think he brought a lot of depth. They had some great starters, but when those guys went down, we saw what happened in 2016. It was a disaster. So you have to have depth, and they have depth at those positions. Certainly they don't at some others. My biggest concern about this team is the same thing it's been for years, is the offensive line.
Yep.
That's a whole other story. But yeah, having options at the skill positions is nothing but a good thing in my opinion.
Number 3, there is no scenario, Shane, that can happen this season in which we'd be questioning Jed Fish's long-term job security, a la that website I tweeted about the other week, which had him on the hot seat.
Yeah.
Do you buy or sell? There's not even an 0-12, and Jed's good for the next year, right?
I'd sell that. I think people would be a little upset. I think most fans are expecting at least 3 wins. I think most fans would take 4 wins if one of them included ASU. Maybe even 3 if one of them included ASU. They want to see progress. If they go backwards somehow, which I don't think is possible, even if Jed Fish turns out to be a horrible head coach. I say that because I know he's had a year of head coaching experience, but I really feel like this is the first year where he really gets to be a head coach with some Power 5 level talent. They just didn't have much of that last year. They didn't. So I give him a mulligan on last year. I won't give him one on this year. We expect to see some progress. So no, do I think that it would? I think it would be debatable. Like, should he be fired after year 2 if they go 0-12? We need to talk about that. Is it fair to talk about? Sure. I think a lot of fans would talk about it. Even if they start 0-4 and 0-5 this year and they're not very competitive, then yeah, I think those conversations are going to heat up. Fans are very fickle week in, week out. Approval. If we keep track of like approval ratings, like we do for the president, for head coaches, they would go up. I mean, up and down so much through the season. Like think about Cliff Kingsbury with the Cardinals last year.
Right.
Halfway through the season, he's coach of the year, and then by the end of it, it's like we need to fire this guy.
Right.
So it's a very fluid situation. So. 0-12, in my opinion, is not acceptable in any way, shape, or form. Now, you could argue that firing him and bringing on someone else wouldn't improve the situation. But is he good no matter what? I don't think so. But I think it would take a lot for me to want to see him on the hot seat for sure.
Okay, so I would buy this one if Arizona wins one game in September. Okay.
Okay.
So if they win one of their first 4 games, including a road game at Cal in the Pac-12 opener last weekend in September, I'm okay with that. Other than that, I agree. You have to sell this because an 0-12 or a 1-11, we're going to be. I mean, I know I probably will be, and I'm sure plenty of our listeners on Twitter will be calling for his head at some point. And
the other thing to remember, Eric, is that expectations change week to week. Think about the men's basketball season last year. Going into the season, we would have been thrilled at a Sweet 16. By the end of it, we were disgusted the way the season ended, even though it ended in the Sweet 16, which, we would have taken at the beginning of the year. So it's all relative. So, if they start the year 4-1 or 3-2, then expectations change. Like we better at least get to a bowl game this year. So it varies week to week. No, I don't think 0-12 would be acceptable to anyone, including Jedd Fisch. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think that as long as we see progress, even 3 wins and being more competitive in games against good teams, I think that's a step in the right direction.
All right, don't bang your head on the desk that you are sitting at for this bonus question. It is not a buy or sell. It is just a yes or no. Would you be upset if Jed led Arizona to a winning season and then left for another job?
No, I wouldn't blame him. I don't think he's going to do that, even though
I don't either.
That was a concern because I really think he wants a place where he and his family can stay put for a while.
Yeah.
Especially them being in school, his kids being in school. But no, I wouldn't be upset. I actually could see a scenario where Jedd Fisch has some success and maybe after year 3 or 4, he leaves and Brendan Carroll's promoted to head coach. I could see I could see that scenario playing out. And Brendan retains a lot of the same guys. They have sort of the same philosophy. I'm getting way ahead of myself there, but I've just letting people know, sharing with them that I pictured that scenario in my head. So no, I'd be disappointed, but I wouldn't be upset, nor would I necessarily blame him for wanting to do that. With that said, I don't think he'd leave after a year or 2. I don't.
Do you think, it's interesting when you think about the history of Arizona football, and I would have to go back a long way, Shane, but nobody really takes over from within, at least in the last 30 years. I mean, and
we saw what happened on the men's basketball side when that looked like that was going to happen with Lute Olson.
Right. So you look at like Washington State, where Rolovich gets fired last year because of the COVID thing. And then they promote the guy. I don't remember his name. He does a good job. And then they give him the full-time job. Like, is that the best guy that Washington State can ever have?
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often. And you think about with Mike Hankwitz and Tim Kish, they were never going to get the head coaching job. I think Hankwitz was interviewed, but he's always an assistant coach. So yeah.
Jake Dickert though at Washington State, like you think about big name coaches, he's probably one of the least known coaches among the Division 1A teams. The FBS.
I don't care about that though. I mean, it's nice to get a sexy name, but if you don't win, it doesn't mean anything. I mean, think about
as we saw with Kevin Sumlin,
Arizona's previous head coach. I'd rather have a no name who wins than a guy who we're excited about and then lets us down.
All right, let's segue from football to Pac-12, Pac-10 goodies. Number 4, Shane, if the Pac-10 is to stay together, having ESPN broadcast their games is 100% necessary. Buy or sell?
Yeah, 100% necessary. It's hard to imagine a successful world without ESPN, as much as I despise them in certain ways. Mm-hmm. So 100% necessary. Oh, I'm going to reluctantly sell that. I don't think it's 100% necessary. With that said, I think it would be very, very nice to have them. It would be difficult to imagine a successful path without ESPN in the mix.
I'm going to buy it. The Big Ten, it's one thing when you have, the Big Ten or the SEC, obviously SEC going to ESPN exclusive, starting, I believe, in 2024. The Big Ten going to probably leave ESPN for the first time in 40 years. Going to be very strange not to see a Big Ten game on ESPN. But, the exposure with College Game Day, which is still a predominant, show, pregame show. Obviously, I think if the Pac-12 goes away from ESPN, they're never getting College Game Day that's going there. So, the Big Ten can deal with that. Pac-10 without their two biggest assets cannot. So that's why 100% necessary. Unfortunately, ESPN staying means those terrible late night kickoffs are still in play. And how I feel about those. 8:00 on September 10th and 17th. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm really excited to go to those games. Plus San Diego State off the bat. I'm excited to go see the first three games.
You are going to that game in San Diego.
Yeah, I am going to go to the game in San Diego. So, I as a season ticket holder, I put my name in for tickets. They've charged me for them, so I assume I'm getting the tickets.
That's what I was asking about, because I know that I was still kind of in limbo. But
I was told that I'm getting them, but we'll find out, I guess, this week or next, the latest. But I'm looking forward to that. So the first three games I'll be at, but the 12:30 start in San Diego is great. The 8 p.m. ones the next 2 weeks are disasters. Really, I won't be home back to the Phoenix area till 1 a.m. If Arizona wins, it's great. If Arizona loses,
that drive's horrible enough. And then they lose, and on top of that, you have to get out of one of the parking garages. That takes forever, and then you got to travel almost 2 hours back home. You're in Scottsdale, so that's even longer. So
and the other thing is though, Shane, like, it's you have to stop, generally get gas on the way back. It's about an hour and 45 minutes for me, but in a blowout game that late, it's tough.
Yeah,
and I probably should stay down there, but
the absolute worst, worse than the blowouts is when they lose a close game and everyone's still there, and then everyone leaves at the same time. So they lost, and it takes forever to get out of there.
Well, see, I park now. This is the little secret for those of you who go to games.
Don't give away your secret.
I park all the way on University. So it's about a 15-20 minute walk from the stadium to the car. But getting out is very easy. You go out, you go down Park, get to Speedway, and then go to Grant, and you go right to the freeway, and there's that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my trick of the trade for those of you who might be doing the same this fall. Okay. We're going to, number 5, Shane, buy or sell these TV network options for the Pac-10. Would you like to see them, buy, or no thanks, sell? Number A, CBS. They're going to have an opening with the SEC gone. Pac-10 on CBS, buy or sell?
I'd buy it. Absolutely. You still have a list, but I'm just going to tell you right now, Eric, anything that leads to every Pac-12 game being viewable for DirecTV subscribers, I think is a step forward. So it's a low bar in that regard for me.
Okay. So CBS, fine. You're going to say yes on NBC. You're going to buy NBC. Yeah. Same thing.
Yep.
Okay. Would you buy Apple?
Yeah, that's tough. If it's streaming only, I think that's tough. And the
Apple
other thing,
and Amazon were the other two.
Yeah, well, and I guess the caveat with CBS and NBC, well, with every station now, the streaming was supposed to make everything simpler, but now there's all these different services. If you want to see, if you don't, have if you cut your cord. If you have CBS, you have to have Paramount Plus to watch CBS. You need to have Peacock now to watch NBC, and ESPN Plus to watch certain things on ESPN. But so it hasn't really been simplified in that regard. So, and then I think streaming is a great option, is a great secondary option. Like if you have the option to watch on Apple or Amazon, but as the only way to watch, I don't think that's good, especially frankly for older people who don't do that, who have cable or satellite. They're not going to care to watch. Games.
Are you okay with a combo of ESPN and or NBC, CBS with a streaming service like Apple and Amazon as compared to Pac-12 Network?
Oh yeah, sign me up for that in a heartbeat. Absolutely.
Oh, and I think that if Arizona were to stay in the Pac-10, I think that is the likely scenario where you're going to see a big network like ESPN. You're going to see maybe a CBS, probably not NBC. Those two are probably out. So it'll be ESPN mainly. And then instead of Pac-12 Network, you'll have Amazon or Apple that will stream the remainder of the games. So the big ones will still be on TV, and the other ones, at least you'll be able to find them, which is good enough. And then I assume, just like with Amazon taking over the Thursday night NFL, they're going to work with sports bars. And they're going to find a way to stream that. So, to get those sports bars. Because obviously that's key for them. Like, a sports bar, it's huge if they can't get Thursday night football, and it's terrible for the NFL if they can't either.
My criteria is for like someone staying up late, even on the East Coast, or just like on their couch, like I want to watch a football game. I don't want to put much effort into it. I just want to see if there's a football game on. I want them to be able to watch it from their couch. And if you're a DirecTV subscriber and the game's on Pac-12 Network, you're not able to do that. If it's a streaming service, then they may or may not be able to do that. So it's like, so for someone who's up late, like what else is on? I want to watch a football game, and I want them to be able to watch that with minimal effort without having to go to a sports bar.
Now, I will say this: as an Apple computer holder, I get the Apple TV, for free as part of the thing on the bottom of my menu bar at the bottom there. The broadcasts for baseball that they do on Friday nights look really good. Okay. I mean, the quality is fantastic.
Good.
So, I mean, like, no offense to the Pac-12 network, but really their broadcast quality is nothing special.
Yeah.
Apple's is way better.
Yeah. Well, there's still
Pac-12 will be way better.
And Pac-12 still has so many ads, like where they're just promoting their own network. Like they can't fill out all their own ad space. They'd never been able to do that.
Well, and that's where I almost called Larry Scott. George Klyavkov needs to call like Apple and Amazon and be like, will you pick up our excess games immediately? Yeah. Like, let's just buy out our people on the Pac-12 network and go to them, something I don't know if that's possible, but going that way. Okay. Nice. Number 6, Shane, it's okay if Arizona and ASU end up in different conferences.
It is okay, provided they're still able to play each other every year. Just like Clemson, South Carolina, Georgia Tech, they're in
Florida State,
BYU, Utah.
Mm-hmm.
They're in different conferences, but they still play each other every year. It would still be weird. But as long as they're able to keep that tradition alive, and it would kind of be a shame they wouldn't be able to play each other in other sports. But football's the big one.
Obviously. Well, they would. No, they would. I mean, you just do non-conference games.
Well, I know, but not like
how is that different?
Not like the 2 games a year they're automatically scheduled to be a little different. And now, especially for men's basketball, I love seeing Wildcat fans turn what's it called now? I'll just call it the activity center. The ASU
good idea. Center, like I always do. Yeah.
I love how they turn it into McHale North almost every year. So, but yeah, I would be okay with it, provided that they play each other every year, that they keep that tradition going, and preferably continue as the last game of the season, which traditionally it almost, well, at least since post World War II, it almost always has been, with some exceptions, but
2009 was one of them.
2009, I think, was the most recent one.
No, there was another one where Arizona played Louisiana Lafayette. It was Nick Foles' final game, or that was 09.
That was 2011.
Because it was.
You're right, 2011. Yeah, because that was Arizona pulled a big upset. Yeah,
Bryson Burney. Yeah,
Bryson Burney threw the touchdown at the end.
Yeah,
yep. You're right. Yeah. Oh yeah, 09. Because I remember it was 09. They played USC after they played ASU, and they won that game. That got them second place in the Pac-10. And then you had 2011. You're right. Both teams, ASU and U of A, both had games after that. The 2011 game.
Correct. Weird. I mean, I agree with you that it should be the last game, but I also don't mind if it's played in September, just like BYU and Utah is. It's still going to be a big game. Yeah. That part, the whole Thanksgiving thing doesn't bother me at all.
I always associate with Thanksgiving, especially because their first ever game in 1899, Eric, was played on Thanksgiving Day. So I think I think there's you would know that if you read my book.
Yeah. I forgot. There's a lot of info
I thought we were friends, Eric.
In your 2 books. Don't make me show you. Don't make me show the your most recent book here.
All right. But no, I like. I mean, it's not a must, but I really would like the tradition of you're going to show the books now. Okay. We can sort of see it. We see Todd Graham there. There we go.
Yeah, we see. This is Rich Rod versus Graham. There you go. There's Rich Rod versus Graham. Shane's most recent book.
I have sold tens and tens of that book.
He is working on his third one, Herm versus Sumlin, but it's going to be very short.
Yeah. Herm
more like an
LOL, the end.
Yeah. So
anyway,
listen, I'm all for it. I think I'm buying the heck out of it. End up in different conferences, great. Don't really care. I know they'll only play each other once in basketball. The other sports won't be affected for the most part.
But they have to play each other, keep playing each other in football. Do you agree with that?
Have to.
Yeah.
So Arizona, I think if Arizona goes to a different conference or ASU, they're going to play 8-game conference schedules. Mm-hmm. And therefore that opens up another game in addition to the 3 that are already scheduled.
Well, even Utah, though, they still play BYU every year, don't they? Even though they have the 9 conference.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so yeah, it's definitely doable. I think like in basketball, Arizona needs to set up, series with UCLA and USC. Maybe not every year, but like pretty close.
Well, at least UCLA. Yeah.
Because
that's always a needle mover. Those are always big game atmospheres.
Okay, number 7, Shane. Arizona should one day, if all else fails, consider going independent. Buy or sell.
Why?
You get to create your own schedule. I mean, BYU's doing it. I mean, Stanford has talked about it.
I guess, what would be interesting. We have our guy, Corey Leffick, John Wall Street on, or even John Canzano again. I actually don't really understand the benefits, the pros and cons of being independent. Like, why is
in football only Notre Dame,
right? Why is that a benefit for Notre Dame? Why is that a benefit for BYU? I guess I'm saying I really don't understand it. I just the reason I scoffed at it originally is just because I feel like Arizona is like going independent would be like a way of puffing your chest out, and look how big we are. Well, they're coming off a 1-win season, so in terms of football, so no. I don't think that would be beneficial. Someone maybe could show me the math and show me that it is, but my first reaction is no, and my second reaction is hell no.
Not a big enough brand. I'm going to sell this one, but just thought I'd bring it up. We haven't discussed that yet. In basketball, you'd have to join a conference because everybody does. Arizona at that point probably joins the Big 12, but if you're going to do it for basketball, you might as well do it for football at that point. So yeah, not going independent. That's probably the last time that will ever be brought up on Wildcat Country. So sorry, I had to bring that up. Just a couple quick basketball things. Number 8, Shane, Kylan Boswell, the 5-star recruit for 2023, reclassified to 22. He's on Arizona's roster, but he is now out until midseason with a stress fracture, believe, in his foot. So number 8, buy or sell that Kylan Boswell should absolutely sit out this next season and not come back in midseason if he's healthy, just to be 100% sure that he's good.
Well, just to back up for a second, I wasn't totally clear on what Tommy Lloyd said as far as they don't anticipate using him much until midseason, as in he might still be available before then, but they don't anticipate using him much. So I'm not clear on that point. I want to be clear on that.
I just assumed he was out until midseason with recovering from the strike, because it takes, it's not a quick injury, especially with basketball.
Yeah, I think, especially being as young as he is, and Bruce Pascoe noted in his story today, I think that he just turned 17 a few months ago. So yeah, I don't think they're going to rush him, and maybe the plan was never to rush him very much this year anyway. But yeah, I'm fine with the timeline. Actually, I would like to, if Tommy Lloyd thinks that Kylan Boswell can be beneficial, and even just a few minutes off the bench, and he looks good, maybe he gets more minutes, I'm fine with using him this season. I think that's fine. It sounds like he's going to be smart with him. He's not going to rush him. They don't have to, even though I think they lost a lot of guys, and that's going to be tough. But no, if he's available and he's healthy this season, I say use him whenever that might be.
A lot of sells on this show today. We're going to agree on this one. You have to sell this one. Look at it like in pro sports, when a team at the trade deadline picks up an important player or a notable player. You see it in baseball, obviously, a lot. Padres getting Juan Soto, or the NBA when there's some movement at the trade deadline. So that's where you have to look at the Kylan Boswell addition as somebody like that for Arizona in the second half of the season, not around for the Maui tournament, not around for the non-conference, maybe the early part of the Pac-12 season, we'll see. But at that point, he could be a difference maker off the bench. Don't know what happens with Kurt Kriisa. Don't know what happens with the Adama Ball. This guy, 10 to 15 minutes to get him prepared for the next year. I'm all for it. So I am selling the heck out of him sitting out the whole season.
Yeah, I actually thought Adama Ball might sort of been that guy for Arizona last year, especially going into the NCAA tournament and with Kurt Kriisa being hobbled.
There's just too much power on that team.
I know. A lot of people were, including myself, were thinking, this guy could maybe come out and just for these teams could scout Arizona as much as they want, and then this guy Adama Ball comes out of nowhere and hits a bunch of threes, and
he did in the Pac-12 championship game.
No,
that was nice.
No, he did, but I thought he might have made bigger impact in the NCAA tournament. So I'm mentioning that because maybe Kylan Boswell will be that guy for Arizona this year.
And finally, the bonus question, which I had referenced at the start of the show. I can't believe I'm doing this. Joe Lunardi, my favorite bracketologist, has put out his first bracketology for the 2022-2023 season, Shane. And he has Arizona as a 5 seed in Sacramento, where they would face Drake in the first round. Don't know much about them, as a 12. And then they would face the winner of GCU, Grand Canyon, which is cool, against, one of Arizona's newest rivals, TCU, in the 4-13 matchup. And then it would be the Gonzaga, Michigan State, or it would be Gonzaga likely versus Michigan State or Oklahoma State if all played true to Lunardi's form, which it never does. But buy or sell, do you agree with Joe Lunardi actually getting it right this time and not penalizing Arizona for his natural hatred of them?
You said I was going to roll my eyes. You're going to roll your eyes. I actually think he has Arizona too high. Just because they lost so much, Eric. They lost so much to the NBA draft and Justin Kier as well, that, it's such a wild card as far as the guys they picked up, how readily they're going to contribute. I think what they lost outweighs what they gained, and maybe by a significant margin, especially with Kylan Boswell maybe not playing it very much, at least not the start of the season, maybe not all season. So I think it's actually a little generous. They surprised us last year. I thought maybe they were a borderline tournament team, and they end up going in as a 1 seed. This year, I kind of feel the same way about this team. I think they're probably a borderline tournament team, maybe a little bit better. It just depends on their international. But I mean, they lost so much, and I don't know some of the guys they're bringing in. I don't, especially the international guys. I have no idea how they're going to fit in. I just don't. And so 5 seeds possible, give or take a seed or two, but I would probably have them in like an 8-9 game if I had to project it right now.
I'm not going to, and I think that's fair. I'm not going to dog Joe for a little while because I actually like this 5 seed. I'm going to buy this. I think he was spot on with this one. There are not 25 teams in the country that are more talented than Arizona. Now, you don't know how this team's going to gel with all the new guys, as you referenced, but the guys that are bringing back Kerr and Pelle Larsson, Courtney Ramey is a great addition. Henderson, getting him, Umar Ballo, Azulis Tubelis, in addition to the other freshman guys, Henry Vassar and some of the other guys. I mean, Borovikinen, Dylan Anderson. I mean, this is a deep roster. It's exciting with Kylan Boswell, maybe in the second half of the season. I am optimistic. I think they're going to be really fun to watch, maybe a little frustrating at times. I think we should temper our expectations, but for an Arizona fan, I think a 5 seed is tempering expectations plenty.
The only thing I'll add, Eric, is my only bold prediction. This is really not that bold a prediction, is Arizona will be on the same bracket line with Xavier at some point in the next couple of years, because they love to do that kind of, with Sean Miller back. I mean, they did that to Sean Miller back in the day. They're going to do it again now that Sean Miller is the coach of Xavier again.
Oh, it'll be epic.
There's no, like, they did it with him. They did it with Bobby Hurley in Buffalo. They're going to do it with Arizona and Xavier at some point, maybe as soon as this season.
Well, Tommy Lloyd and Gonzaga, according to Lenardi's bracket. So, I mean, there's something there in the West. I think the West is in Vegas this year, I believe. I'd have to double check that, but I think so. That'd be nice that Vegas is finally getting a shot there. So that'd be kind of fun to see. Thank you for doing Buy or Sell. This is only an extended Buy or Sell, as we have a guestless episode, just Shane and I. But Shane, it's been fun going over a lot of just kind of things that have happened over the last week and a half and different ideas out there. So thanks for doing an abbreviated show. And thanks to all of you for listening. For Shane Dale, I'm Eric Cohen. As always, bear down.